and how to create and to actually sew a body vest warmer that's sleeveless. So the first thing you need to do is create a picture. So if you can see the picture. Right, so either you take your fashion illustration templates, or you can just draw freehand. So it's very important to actually have a drawing so you can visualize exactly what you're going to be making throughout your sewing process, because if you can't see the end result, you're basically starting to sew something and not sure exactly the details you're going to be putting into your garment, or the colors of the trims or the threads or the zips. So in my picture, so what I've done is I've got a red zip in the center front, and then it's got the different panels. So hello, this is Tania Sutherland. It's all about showing you how to use basic existing commercial patterns and to adjust it and adapt or manipulate the patterns into styles that you want. So I'm using this new look pattern, and this is the design that I want to make. Okay, so this is basically a body vest, sleeveless, padded or with wadding, body warmer. And I've chosen this Duchess satin fabric, the pink, plus I've got this Vogue print that I'm going to be using for the contrast panels. So what I've done is I've just taken out the front and the front panel, the back and the back panel out of the pattern. And the actual jacket pattern has got two necklines. The one is a round neckline, and the one is just slightly like a V type of neckline. So I'm going to put both patterns on top of one another to get the right curve for the neckline, and then of course I want a straight hemline at the bottom. I don't want it to be curved. So as you can see here, the one pattern piece is basically going straight right down to the bottom, where the bottom is a straight hemline. The neckline is slightly V. So of all days, I choose to do a video today, and it's thunder and lightning and the sky is rumbling like crazy outside, but nevertheless we'll continue. And this one's slightly round with the round curve hemline, so I'm just going to put the two on top of one another to get the straight hemline there and to get the curved neckline for the top. So I'm just going to put the two together, creating a new style line that I want for myself. And then the back panel of the pattern is placed on the fold. I'm going to cut 2 times this and actually do a bit of a curvature in the back and the spine, because I want it to be a bit more fitted and shaped. I don't want it to be straight in my back because I have more of a shaped hollow back, so I want it to actually fit nicely in my curves. I am an hourglass body shape, so I would prefer to have my garments more fitted and more tailored and structured than more straight fitting. That's why I'm going to make that smaller adjustment. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to lay the patterns down, and the next thing to show you is I have measured from my shoulder, from the middle of my shoulder to my true waist, which is 45 centimeters, and then from my shoulder to the hemline of this jacket is 63 centimeters. So what I will do is I will actually take the pattern, take my tape measure, and I'm about between a size 10 and a 12. I'll just lay the tape measure where the stitching line would be, measuring it down to 45 centimeters to see where my true waist is. And if you look at the pattern's waist is about 3 centimeters above, which is 43, I'm 46. So I will make sure that when I do my shaping, that this is where my true waistline is on 46. So that my curves are actually, the flow of the pattern falls into the curves of my body proportions. Okay, so I will lay the fabric, and then I will show you the next clip. I've done on the table, if you can bring the camera down. Thanks, Bernadine. Alright, so what we've done here is we've cut out the padding. So here is some quilted padding, and here are the 2 fronts with the red zip, and the 2 front side panels, which are in this Vogue stunning print. Then the back has also got the center back 2 panels are in this Duchess satin, like in a salmon pink, also with the side prints in this Vogue print. And then I've got the lining. I've cut the lining in red, but I haven't used normal lining. I've used a slightly thicker fabric, which is called, it's almost like a mini mat type of fabric. Because I don't really like lining very much. I find that it's synthetic and it doesn't really breathe, and I want something a bit warmer. And of course the inside matches my zip as well. And I've cut out the collar with the padding at the same time. So what we're going to do now is, throughout the video, I will show you the pictures of the step-by-step that we've done, cutting out the pattern and what patterns I've used. But now we're going to actually take this to the sewing machine and start stitching down the padding onto the garment panels. But first of all, what we need to do is take a ruler and some kind of pen or pencil that can come off, either by friction or by washing, so it doesn't, that the marks don't stay on your actual fabric. We are going to draw lines on the actual panels and stitch the quilting down so that you can actually have this drawn lines, and with the drawn lines follow them with your stitching machine so you're stitching the padding down on the actual garment panels. So we'll show you that in a minute. Right, so I do suggest when you start stitching these along the lines to use as much pins as possible. And you can see now when you've got the lines, you can actually stitch right on the lines nice and straight, but use lots of pins because now you're working on the diagonal of the fabric to the bias, it's going to stretch. Okay, so these are the side panels, which you can just see the stitching line. This is horizontal lines. So like I suggest, just keep pinning, do lots and lots of pins, and then just sew on the pen line that you used, or your pencil or chalk that you've marked. And I think the pen works better than the chalk, so the chalk will just rub off when you're busy hand mending the garments. So I think the pen works really great. You can just see the pen, feel like you can wash it off. Okay, so there are all the other panels. Okay, so the next step that we're going to be doing now is Bernadine has done all the paddings, actual stitching, the stitching lines. So this is now the side panels. So what you'll do now, the next step is you will take your linings. So this is the back lining, and this is the back side, the side panels. Okay, and usually you'll see you've got two little nips. Okay, you can see the two nips over there. Okay, anyway, there's two little nips for the back, and usually on your back panel there'll be two nips as well. So you've got to make sure that you follow your nips or your notches, depending on what you want to call them. You basically would line them up and then pin it, and then pin your side panel to your center back panel, your back panel, pin it all the way around, and then obviously stitch it your 1.5 centimeter seam allowance, which we're going to be doing now. We're going to be sewing it. Alright, so you're going to be pinning all the way along your actual side panel to your back panel, and you'll do the exactly same with your outer jacket. So that is one of your back panels. This is the center back seam, and then you will take your side panel and join the two together, following your notches or your nips and joining that together. So now what we're going to do is we're going to be joining the lining together, and we're going to be joining all the side panels with the back panels, and the side panels with the front, and also just completing the collar. The collar also is going to be having the top stitching done on the collar itself, and then we're going to basically take the inside, the lining and the outer jacket, and join them together with the zip. Alright, okay, what we've done now is we basically have joined the front panels with the front side panels, the back two panels together, join the center back, and then of course the back side panels. So now it's still open. As you can see, it is now, the side seams are still open, we're not going to close them yet. Done exactly same with the lining. Here is the lining. Your front panels with the front side panels, back with back side panels, and just closed the shoulders. Okay, so the next step we would do, and of course did the collar as well. So you see the one side is the pink and the other side is the Vogue print. and we've done our bulky sort of top stitching going over there, which is giving that nice padded effect with the wadding on the inside. So now the next step would be is to put your zip in. Okay, now with this particular zip that I've got, you can get a zip that goes all the way right up to your collar, ending up to the end of the collar. So what I've decided to do here was to keep the zip a bit shorter, and it's going to basically end a few centimeters away from the hemline of the actual jacket. It's not going to go right down to the bottom. So the first thing you would do now is first do your zip. So you would basically pin your zip where you want it to go to the edge, to your center front, your neck, to the actual neckline. So I'm going to just pin my zip. Now, if you normally what I do is I do about a half a centimeter from the edge, because it's about 2 centimeters center front seam. So in other words, there's half a centimeter edge, and then I place the zip. Okay, so you'll pin the zip all the way down to the bottom. Okay, you will stitch it down using your zipper foot, because the whole idea is to try and stitch as close as possible to the edge of the teeth of the zip. So if I flip this around, you're going to try and stitch as close as possible to the teeth of the zip. By using your zipper foot, you can get as close as possible to the bulk of the zip foot. So you're going to stitch this down all the way down, and once you've done that, you will actually unzip your zip. You'll unzip it, and then you'll pin it on the other side and stitch your zip down all the way on the other side. So we'll show you how to do that. Once we've done that, then we're going to place the collar into place, and then actually bag it out with the lining, and then close the side seams. So let's just get the zip done, and I'll show you how to do the zip. Okay, as you can see right now, Bernadine's just stitched the zip all the way down on the one side of the front panel, and now we've pinned the opposite side of the zip, and I made sure that with the center, your center front and your neckline and the hemline, that the zips are equal. So when you close the zip, they're going to measure 100% aligned. Okay, so use lots of pins to keep it in place, and then I'll just keep my little half a centimeter edge, and then of course with my stitching it works on about 2 centimeter seam in total. Okay, so Bernadine's going to stitch the opposite side of the zip. So you would actually keep all the bulk of your fabric away from your machine. Okay. So you're keeping all the bulk of the fabric on your left hand side. You don't put it on the right hand side of the machine, because it gets all clogged up and it gets difficult to actually keep the tension and to keep your stitching line straight. So when you're busy sewing and you want to keep consistent seam allowance, but you just show with your hand where the little lines are on your foot. The lines. Okay, I'm just going to zoom in. So as you can see there in your machine, it tells you 1.5, 2 centimeters, and that's where you can actually put the edging of your fabric to make sure that you're doing your correct seam allowance. Okay, as you can see now, the zip on the right and the left hand side has been stitched as close as possible to the teeth of the actual zipper itself. And then of course I zipped it up to make sure that at the bottom hemline that the measurement on the right and the left hand side is correct, so it's correctly aligned. And then I've taken the collar and I folded the collar in the half, pinned it the half point I marked to the center back, and I've just pinned it all the way around the neckline. Okay, now once I've done this, as you can see it's just been pinned, I will take the lining, here is the lining, and I will take the 2 center fronts of the actual lining garment, and I will stitch the zip closed. So just bear with me, I will just move the camera down. Oops, sorry. Okay, so now you're going to take the inside. Okay, so now we've done the zip. Okay, as you see we pinned the actual collar. Okay, so now you will open up your zip on the center front. This is where the zip is placed. You will take your lining, and then you will take your lining. So this would be there's the shoulders. Okay, this is your center front neckline, and there's your front seam. Okay, so you will take your two center fronts, and they'll be both on the right side and the right side of the outer garment and the right side of your lining, as if they are kissing, and then you will pin it all the way down with the zip sandwiched in between the two. Okay, so you'll see, there we go. So now then what you'll do is, now you've sandwiched the zip in between, you're going to place all your pins, then you're going to stitch from the hemline all the way up to the neckline. You are going to once again sandwich. Here's your collar, so there's the collar. Okay, you're going to sandwich the collar in between the right side of the jacket, the front part, and the right side of your lining. Make sure that your shoulders align. This is the lining shoulder, and there is your garment shoulder. Make sure that is aligned. Pin that, and then stitch all the way around the neckline, right around to the other side. So you got your right center front and your left center front stitching done, and then you'll stitch all the way down on the opposite side of the, this is your right hand side, that's your left hand side, sandwiching in your zip. Okay, stitching, tucking in your collar all the way right to the bottom, and that is how you're going to join your lining to your actual body vest warmer front of the jacket. Okay, so here I have actually pinned. This is the wrong side, this is the inside of the jacket, and this is the wrong side of your lining, and in between the two right sides kissing is your zip. So you can see there's your center front, there's the zip is in between, and I've pinned right around the neckline. The shoulders are aligned and meeting up, and on the inside is the actual little collar, which has been sandwiched on the inside. You can have a look. There is the right side of the jacket, there's the collar, and there's the lining. So if I had to bag this all out, you'll see that it actually gets wrapped around inside the actual jacket. So now what you will do is you'll basically stitch from your hemline all the way up to the center front point, all the way around the neckline, right around to the opposite side of the neckline, all the way down the center front. And once you've done that, you'll bag it out, and then by the neckline where it's curved, you will just take your scissor and just snip in here about 1/2 centimeter right around the neck, just to create a little bit of ease around where the curve of the neckline is, so that it's not all pulling tight, and it's giving it some relief of tension working around the curve. And then once you've done that, that is when you will join your side seams to, well, you do your armhole first, which I'll show you the next step, how to actually bag out the lining and the armhole, and then close off the side seams, and then bag out your jacket. Okay, so now we basically have put the lining on the inside of the actual body vest little jacket. Okay, so I've done basically, as you can see, the lining is exactly the same pattern as the outside, except that there's no padding on the lining and no top stitching for this decorative stitching. The next step would be is, as you can see, that the shoulders have been joined, your center, back, your side panels. So now it would be the armhole. So first thing you do is you put your garment either on a mannequin, or you try it on yourself, and just by eyes, your eyeball, are you happy with the length? And you can always just put a few pins in on the side, try it on, and see if you're happy with the fit at this stage. So the next step would be is you're going to basically close off the armhole. So now what you'll do is you can take the garment and you can turn it where the two shoulder seams are meeting, and it's the two right sides together, they are kissing. And you will pin the two shoulders seams together. Make sure that all your seams are facing towards your shoulder towards the back and not towards the front. And this is your side back panels. Make sure that they are also aligned and that the seams are going towards the back and not towards the front. So you'll pin your armhole all the way around until the side seam. I'm just going to pin the pins again flat and put it back onto the mannequin to show you what I've done. Okay, I'm just going to pin it. So in other words, the seams would be going downwards because you don't want to have bulk in your seams. You also want to look slimmer and you wanted a much more flat and a more professional finishing off. Okay, so there I've just pinned it. And what you would do is once you've done the shoulders, you would have to pull it through. It's almost like you're bagging it out. So you would pull, you see there's the shoulder there. So here's your front panel. You would actually put it through the shoulder. Let's see if I can do it when that's just been pinned. We'll put it through. I think let me rather stitch it first because with the pins I don't want to damage the actual Duchess satin. Okay, so there you can have a look. There is your armhole, there is your shoulder, and you're basically just going to stitch this all the way around. And once you've done that, you actually put it through the armhole, and then we do the side seams, which I'll show you shortly as well. As you can see, I just used different color threads that you can actually see. I just stitched the armholes right around. The side seams are still open, so you just turn the garment where it is the right sides are kissing, and you join your shoulder seams. Make sure that your front side seams and back side seams are aligned, and once you've stitched it down according to your seam allowance, you can actually snip open to release some tension. Alright, so there is the garment, that's the lining, and that is the inside wadding. So now what you will do is you need to pull through, because the side seams are still open. There's the side seams. I'm putting my hand in the shoulder and I'm going to pull through the front through the shoulder. So I'm just going to put it through. As you can see, there's the right side. I'm just pulling it through the shoulder. Okay, by doing that, let me just do the other side as well. I hope you can see that clearly. Once I've pulled it all through, I'll put it back onto the mannequin. Okay, there we go. Just going to give it a flick. Okay, now you can see there is the smooth armhole, and now you've got your side seams. Okay, so there is your armhole. Okay, I'll just give it a nice press. Okay, so now it's about just closing the side seams. So what you will do is you basically align your underarm seams with the two fronts, the front and the back, the outer garment. And you will put a pin. I'm going to take it off the doll to show you. So you're going to pin the underarm. And there is your hemline. So that is the underarm, that is the front. The two front sides are kissing. You stitch that all the way down, and that is to your armhole. And then from armhole and the lining all the way down to the hemline. So you're going to do one long stitching line from the front to the armhole, all the way through the lining to the bottom hemline. Alright, as you can see now, this is your side panels. Okay, your front and your back. And then of course there's the armhole, and you do one straight seam going right through. Okay, so if I open it up, you can have a look. So there is the armhole. Okay, so that seam came through from the front all the way down into the side seam of your lining. And there's the seam going all the way down. So let me put it onto the mannequin so you can have a better look. She sounds a bit croaky. She needs some oil. Okay, all right, there we go. So there is the side, the armhole. As you can see, there's the lining just sticking out, which needs to be pressed. There's your side seam, and so the seam went right around from the armhole, right from the inside right around. So I've kept a little opening on the one side, as you can see there, because when I close the hemline, I need to have a little opening to bag out the jacket. Oh, let me just put it back on the stand. And this is where you will try it on to see if the fit fits you correctly, whether you need to take in on the seams or let out. Once you've tried it on, you can give it a good press and just obviously snip the seams on the inside so you're releasing any form of tension. There's the back of the jacket. Obviously these lines will come off, these extra lines. That's just part of the mark here. Okay, so there we go. Alright, so the next step would be is you'll take the jacket and you'll turn it inside out, and you will join your hemline, in other words the front of the jacket and the back, the right side of the material and the right side of the lining will be kissing. You will take the hemline and join the hem right around with the right sides facing one another. Once you've done that, you will just trim the little seams on the corners here and bag it out. You bag it out to get that effect, which I will show you once I've done that as well. Alright, so now I've put the body vest warmer together, and I've just got to bag out and do the hemline. I've closed the armor, which I showed you, and then the side seams, because now I'm trying it on. So it's about perfecting your clothing to fit your body shape correctly. So I've actually now taken in, you'll see I've pinned all the way down the actual bust line and the front panel, and at the back I've left the back to be as it is. I'm not taking that in at all. I don't think I want it any tighter, because I'm probably still going to wear probably a jersey or a long sleeve t-shirt and maybe Spencer something underneath. So now I'll go ahead and actually take in these panels before I actually close off the bottom of the actual body vest warmer. And then what I've done is on the inside, remember I've just opened up a little opening on the side seam, just on the one side, because when I'm going to do this hem, you're going to turn this all inside out, okay, and you're going to stitch it down and then put it through the opening on the side, which I will show you as well. So try it on before you finish it to make sure that you're happy with the perfect fit before you actually get excited just to bag it out and to finish your jacket. Okay, what I've done is I've just taken the jacket. Here's the right side. Okay, the right side of the jacket. So I'm just turning it inside out so that I can get to the inside of this bust panel. Okay, so now you can see there's the pins on the right side. Now I've turned it around. So what you can do is, and it's a bit difficult now because you've got all this padding or this quilting on, so mark it with either a pen, so you can mark along where the pin marks are so that you can see where to take it in. If you mark with the pen, you're not going to see it because it is on the, you're going to see it through your fabric because it's on the wrong side of the material. Okay, so you can just mark it. Okay, this pen's not working so great. Let me go back to my other marker. So you will mark this on both sides, on your front right panel and your front left panel, marking exactly where you pinned. So when you remove the pins, you've got pen marks to guide you where you need to take it in. So I normally mark on both sides with the pinning. So the pin will be on this side, as you can see in the one side, and I will mark on the other side as well. Okay, so I'm marking both sides of the way I've taken it in. In other words, it will be the center front panel as well as the side panel that I'm marking. So there's my pen marks. Okay, on both sides. So let me just show you. If I take the pins out, I'm just going to turn it around again to the front. Okay, there we are. So I'll take the pins out. And whatever you're taking in or taking out, on the front of the jacket or the outer side of the jacket, you've got to do to your lining as well. So there you can see my marks. So if you wanted to, you can either take a ruler and mark these lines straight for you to see where to sew. Remember, you're doing a dart now. This is more of a contour dart to make it to fit your body correctly. All right, so there's the mark. So now I would actually just pin it. I would put my pins in this way, okay, all the way up, and I would stitch all the way along here, all the way to the top, okay, and keeping a smooth flowing line, not distorting or changing your style line. So whatever I'm doing to the right side, I will do to the left side as well, and then I will measure with my tape measure to do the lining exactly the same on the lining's two side panels. Okay, so now I've actually taken in the body vest warmer. I've taken it in by the bust panels and that it fits me properly, and I've tried it on, and I've checked that the hemline's not sticking out at the bottom of the actual body vest warmer. As you can see, the lining isn't sticking out. It's it's level. Okay, all right, so the next step would be is you need to iron. Okay, so give it a good iron and press all the seams, as well as press the lining on the inside so that's all nice and tucked in and all nice and firm, and the seams are, you can press the seams open, okay, in this case. Then wherever I have taken in, you need to trim off, which I've trimmed off most of it, so I'll just go back into it while I'm pressing it, to trim off all the bulky seams. I have trimmed off quite a bit of the seams, so I'll just go through it again and check what else I need to trim. And then once I've done that, what you're going to do next, let me just hold the camera. Okay, so the next step would be, once you've pressed it, is you need to turn the jacket inside out. So in other words, you are going to turn it inside out, that the hems are aligned, kissing one another. So it's right side to right side. Then you will align up all your panels. All right, so basically you're going to be turning this inside out, so it's like a big sandwich, that your jacket is all tucked in. So your jacket's all on the inside. can see. All right, so from your center front, there you go, this is your center front. You're going to pin, join the seams together, pin, pin, like here I can trim some more excess off. Then you're going to stitch this along the bottom, all the way along the bottom. You're going to stitch it closed. Once you've done that, you're going to put it through this opening of the actual side seam. Okay, so now you can see that I've turned it inside out. At the two right sides were actually meeting up and they were kissing, and I made sure that all the panels were aligned and joined. If you find that your lining panel is too big, then take in the seams to make sure that these panels adjust and they fit in correctly when you actually stitch the lining and the front of the jacket, well, the outer jacket together when you're doing the baggy knot. What I've done here on the corners, this is where the zip is. I basically snipped off the corner to remove some of the bulk. I did that to the right side and to the left side. So if I turn this around, there's the inside of the jacket. This is your lining, okay? And here is still my opening. As you can see, all my seams are completely aligned. Okay, so I made sure everything's aligned. My center back was a bit wide, so I took in on the center back to make sure that the lining panel meets up perfectly with the outer jacket. All right, so yeah, there I've trimmed off the excess in the corners, as you can see. That also helps when you bag it out, that it's not too bulky on the corner, the bottom of the zip. So now what you will do is, here is your opening. Okay, there's the opening. So you'll pull the jacket through your opening. So I've pressed the jacket, made sure all the seams are nice and flat, and by pressing it, my Koki pen that I use, which is a fabric pen, it actually disappears when I put, you can see there's no more blue marks on the stitching lines. With the wet cloth and the pressing, it completely came off, which is great. Okay, so there is the corner. So I pulled it out. Here is the other corner where the zip is. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to take the point of my scissor and just gently push out the corners. So it's a nice little square, as you can see. There we go. Okay, like that. I will do to the other side. Same, just pushing out the corner. You don't have to use your scissor. You can use a knitting needle if you want to. But I just prefer to use my scissor. It's closer. Okay, so now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to close my zipper to make sure that the front, left and right side align up. I did check when I was stitching it closed to make sure that this measurement here are equal. You don't want the one to be longer and the one to be shorter. Okay, so there's the jacket. It's completely turned around. Okay. There we go. There's the jacket completely inside out. Put the correct side on the outside. Okay, so at this point, what you would do is you just try it on again to make sure that you're happy with everything, that the lines are not sticking out. Once you've done that, you will go to where this opening is. You will fold back the seam allowance, which was 1.5 centimeters. You'll just fold it back. You'll put your pins in, hold it down, and then just do a very small seam allowance stitch. So in other words, you're going to be stitching right against the edge as close as possible, all the way to the closed, to close the opening. So just stitch from there all the way at the bottom, just a small little seam, right as close as possible to the actual seam line. Then that's your jacket, and your jacket is done. And then of course you can wear it and just rock your style. So I hope that was educational for you. I will show you some photos with me wearing it. And what I've decided to do is I'm just going to unpick this top stitching along here, because I was going to do it reverse. I was going to put the print on the side. That's why my edge stitching was on the pink side. I changed my mind, so I'm going to take that off. And I'm actually going to put some form of maybe a transparent press stud on the inside here to keep the collar closed. So I made the collar quite high, so it keeps my neck warm. So I'm just going to put some kind of stud or something in here, which is an afterthought. Maybe I should have put a magnetic clip stud on the inside before finishing that off, but that's fine. I will just do a press stud now. And then I just see that my label is facing the wrong way, so I'm just going to go in there and pick that and just stitch that correctly.